All right, so let's say that I have an autism spectrum disorder. I'm going to go tell you what my world is like right now as I look out into the world, okay? If I have an autism spectrum disorder, my eyes may work just fine, but that information that my eyes pick up, what does my brain do with it? And did it make the connection, and did it connect with my other senses? So I look out into the world, and I have an autism spectrum disorder, and I see these faces with social expectations. I can't really process social. It's a lot of information. I think instead I'll go find myself a pattern somewhere in the room, and fortunately I found it. Here it is. This is a pattern right here. What's nice about it is it's predictable. It goes straight down this way and straight across this way. And if I can look at that pattern, distract myself by thinking about that pattern, I don't have to look at the kaleidoscope of all of you and all that sensory input. See, autism doesn't have screens. I can't throw up a screen if I have an autism spectrum disorder. It all comes into me at the same intensity, and it's like I'm looking at the world in a kaleidoscope. Why doesn't she look at my eyes? It's because there's too much information in my face that she cannot process. Why am I going to find one feature to look at and just identify that one feature and isolate? Because I see tree, 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 and I don't see forest if I have autism. The visual processing impairment in autism is that there's no gestalt. There's no big picture. There's piece, 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 piece. So if I have a visual processing system impairment and I'm in a classroom, heaven forbid, this is my classroom, let's just say. This is my classroom, and somebody standing there is the person to be listening to and talking to, but I look around the room and there's colors here, and oh dear, the fan is spinning over here. That could distract a person with autism for, oh, I'd be there for an hour checking that action out, okay? So I go look at these lines instead, and by now the teacher's lesson is done, and I've missed the whole thing because I have an autism spectrum disorder. Visually alone, just visual. Go ahead and give me a second handicapping condition, okay? Make my auditory processing system be inconsistent, all right? So that means the sounds come in or they don't come in, and I hear them or don't hear them, but there's not consistency in them. So sometimes the person is talking. You know how people hear us talking when we're talking and talking and talking when they have an autism spectrum disorder? Do you remember any of the Charlie Brown videos? What do the adults sound like in Charlie Brown? Rah, 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 rah. They have a language disorder, and we're talking our little hearts out, and we're saying to them, rah, 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 okay? That's the first piece of it, that receptive language disorder. So if I have that auditory processing thing going on, I'm sitting here listening, and I hear that voice, rah, 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 and I also hear the fan, I hear pens ticking, I hear a footstep, I hear children playing outside. I hear all of these things, and I can't screen them. I'm hearing all of them at the same intensity, and I, honest to goodness, don't know which one I have to pay attention to get to my next step. I don't know which one's going to have the answers for me. So what will I listen to? Your voice is coming in and out, and it's high and it's low, and there's words that I have to process, and I've got a language disorder. But you know what? This fan makes a nice even tick, 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 tick. And if I listen to that instead, that feels a lot calmer than trying to process your language if I have an autism spectrum disorder. So that's my site. I give you my auditory processing. Go ahead and do proprioceptive system, because oftentimes that's certainly an issue. Proprioceptive is where your body is in space. So for many of us, we could walk across a room and without really looking at a chair, stop and sit in that chair without much effort. Not if you have autism. If you have autism, where your body is in space is something that you're actively processing. I'm going to process my visual field, process the auditory inputs, process where my body is in space, and my olfactory system is giving me inconsistent and unreliable information. Okay, so my sense of smell is giving me inconsistent, unreliable. And you know what else? It's either hyper-responsive or hypo, but most times it's hyper. And that means I smell each of the scents of everybody's shampoo, of the cologne you're wearing, which clashes with his cologne, and the fact that you both have a different cologne, if I have autism, is something that I'll pick up on. It will overwhelm me and confuse me, and I'll probably do some avoidance stuff to get away here from the different scents. And I'm trying to process that information while I'm still processing auditorily, visually. Do you see how many rocks that is in your backpack? Do you see what a load that is? I gave you olfactory system. Oh, as long as we're doing smell, go ahead and talk about taste. Anybody have a family member with autism who has a limited diet? Guess why? Because every taste and every sense that they have to process and every smell, so that the fact that I gave him McDonald's fries and the fact that they're fries and he loves fries doesn't mean anything, because it's Burger King fries that he loves, and never the twain shall meet. That's autism. There's a taste, there's a texture, there's a smell to this one that this one doesn't have, and I can't do them both. That's autism. Taste, smell, sight, sound, touch. If you have an autism spectrum disorder, you're constantly having to process your sense of touch. You have a hyper response. In other words, it's kind of like a pins and needle thing happening, where you're very, very cognizant and aware of touch all around you. If I had autism, I'd be very cognizant of the fabric against my body. I'd be very cognizant of this little weight that I'm carrying around here, of the necklace. The tag in the back of your shirt would really irritate me. I'd have a hyper response to all of that information coming in. I'm an information overload. And I don't have any screens. I don't know how to screen it all out. It keeps coming in and I can't stop it. And I say this because it's important that you understand where we're coming from. If you can see the world how a person with autism sees the world, if you can feel the world the way they feel the world, then a lot of things begin to make sense. Why does he not touch the Burger King French fries when I know he loves fries? And you understand. Why does he not wear that wonderful, does she not wear that wonderful Sunday dress that I bought her, that's starched and crisp and beautiful? Why does she not wear it? That's why she can't wear it. Why, when I call her name, does she continue to walk and have no cognition that I'm trying to gain her attention? All the unexplained behaviors in autism become so explainable when you see where we're coming from. And it's not to be sad. It's not to say, oh, well, poor baby's got autism, life is tough, therefore we must accommodate and make the world rosy. No, because these things are not going away. They'll get less pronounced. Your child will learn coping strategies. Your grandchild will learn coping strategies. Your family member will learn coping strategies. These things will become less pronounced and they'll develop coping strategies. But it's always there to a certain degree. It's always a rock in their backpacks. I like the idea of rocks in backpacks because it explains things to me. You know, the kids come to school in the morning all with their backpacks on. Everybody has something different in their backpack. Your books, your lunchbox, loaf for mommy, whatever you're carrying that day, your toy for show and share, whatever it is. With a student with autism, they've got some extra things in their backpack. I know everyone gets extra things. Mom and dad had a fuss last night. That's a rock in my student's backpack. Or there's a new baby in the household. Maybe that's a rock in my backpack. But for my friends with an autism spectrum disorder, the rocks in the backpack are boulders. It's a profound communication impairment. Before I walked in the door, this is what I was carrying on my shoulders. It's a profound sensory processing impairment. It's a social processing impairment. Nothing comes easy. And if you have all this going on for you in a sensory system, and now I want answers from you, and now I want social interaction, and now would you please answer my question? Can you see the overload? So what do? Because you're loving family members, you find ways to get the rocks out of their backpack. You find ways to ease the burden, to ease the load on them, so that they can access higher levels of functioning, so they can process your language, so they can answer you. Even wherever your student, your family member with autism is, across the continuum, these three things are issues for them. Not the same for everyone, to different levels and different degrees, different systems at different times, but these core issues, from Asperger's syndrome to counter-style autism, are core issues.